Hello everyone and welcome to today's video in the Research Method series. In this short video today, we will cover the steps that are involved in the process of experimental designing. Since this is a short video, the goal is just to get an overview of what the steps in designing an experiment involve, and therefore we look at short descriptions of what is involved in each of those stages or steps. Great, so without further ado, let's get into the video. The first and the most essential step in designing an experiment is eliciting the research question of interest. That is essentially asking yourself the question, what is it that you're interested in? What are you trying to answer that you want the focus of your entire experiment to be on? An example research question can be, does memory training improve recall of items memorized? Now, deciding on a focused research question gives you direction, scientific motivation, and a research ground to start and proceed systematically with your research study. This is why it is the first and the most essential step in designing an experiment. Moving on, the second step in experiment designing is eliciting what the key variables of interest are that your research study and your research question focuses on. Now, variables are anything that vary or change over time, and our focus in an experiment is to discern, analyze, and study these changing variables. What aspect of these changing variables you're interested to analyze and study will be highly dependent on your research question of interest. An example of variables could be studying the changing number of items recalled by a participant after or before memory training. Moving on to the third step. The third step in experiment designing is to list out the key hypotheses that you have developed, probably based on previous research undertaken in the area of research interest or research question, or probably based on previously established theoretical frameworks in that specific area in which your research study is based. An example of a hypothesis could be that greater number of items are recalled with the greater number of memory training sessions. Once you have gone through step 1, 2, and 3, you then move on to step 4, which is one of the most important steps in the whole process. This is the step of designing your study. Now, this is a very important step because deciding on the correct design can either make or break your experiment. Thus, having a good understanding of the different types of study designs, the advantages and disadvantages of these designs, as well as your research question and the key variables of interest, collectively are very important to decide and set your experimental design. An example of a study design could be a correlational design, a concept that we will discuss in greater detail in an upcoming video. Once you've gone through these 4 steps, you then move on to step 5. By this stage, we start analyzing the data that we have collected from the study that we designed in the previous stage. In this stage, we start working with statistical tests. We work with data analysis packages, programming language such as R, or statistics software such as SPSS, and we analyze the data collected in the study. For example, we could collect the number of items recalled in a memory test as our key data from the study, and then analyze that to answer a research question using a statistical test like a t-test. By this stage, you have therefore finished your statistical analysis in your experimental procedures. When you have finished this, you then move on to the last stage of the experimental designing process. And this pertains to working towards interpreting the results that you have analyzed in step 5 and then disseminating the findings by writing up a research article or a research report and thereby answering the research question you originally started with. For example, based on our analysis done in step 5, we could state that there is a significant positive correlation between the number of memory training sessions a participant is subjected to and the number of items recalled in a memory test. Brilliant. So, step 1 through to 6 essentially gives you an overview of the steps involved in an experimental design.